It's a hard job to support a family.
I think that's a good position.
There's a lot of people looking for those jobs.
I could go back and dig up quite a few names that are right now working in Hollywood.
If you want to be a DP, become an assistant camera.
I agree with you, but Shawn and I are part 3 of what's hot, what's not in the industry, and I'd like to start with one of my favorites, and that is the whole area of the gaffer, who can also double as, or take the position as best boy grip, or best boy electric, or key grip. And maybe I should start with the definition.
Okay.
Okay. So the best boy electric is the person in charge of course, all the electric and all the distribution of electric. Best boy grip is the supervisor at the scene that makes sure everything is unloaded to a particular place on set. The key grip is the person that's in charge of getting all the equipment, organizing it, getting it all to set. Gaffer is the person responsible for setting all the lights. So of those 4 positions, if you know one position, you likely know the other positions. That's 4 positions on every film shoot. And I see most of our students who are going out into the world starting as grips, basic grips, and moving up to one of those 4 positions. So I think it's a good objective to have, even if you're just going to work as one of those positions in the grip area for the first part of your career. I like it because a lot of our students are now going to Hollywood. They might have an ultimate goal of being DP, but they start in those positions.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree, similar to editing, that what used to be many positions is becoming one position. You're expected to know more, you're expected to do more. The problem with those positions are, whereas most of the other positions in film, the pay is going up, the pay for those positions is staying the same. Second, you don't have very much creative control at all. So if you're here because your dream is to make films and tell stories, the guy who puts the light up, yes, he has some creative control, but not really. So if your dream is making films, you can languish in those positions for a long time. In essence, those positions are glorified contractors who get to work on a film set. Also, you work day by day. You may work every day for 3 months. You may not have a job for 3-6 months. Because the shoots are so short and getting shorter every day, it's a hard job to support a family in.
Well, I'll tell you one of the things that one conversation I had with, I think it was a best boy grip. He had construction skills. And this guy worked all the time. I mean, people were calling him all the time. He was on sets. He came up to me and he said, I'm really getting tired of constructing. He says, I want to get into a creative position. So that kind of goes with what you're saying. You do go a little nuts because you're following somebody else's dictates, and you can't look at that and say, I created that. I created that feel. I'm that storyteller. And so, yeah, I agree with you, but you are in the industry.
You are in the industry working, but again, if it's about the paycheck, you probably can make more working as a contractor. You can go to plumbing school and make more if that's what you want to do. It's also worth noting that we pointed these positions as likely moving up to DP. Again, you're better off working in the camera department.
There's a wall, and let's talk about that next, AC.
Okay.
Assistant camera. I think that's a good position.
I do too. I think it's a great position. I think it's the contracting of positions, the fact that there are fewer positions doing one job, is hitting that more than anything. When we used to shoot on film, we needed loaders, we needed unloaders. The film stock was so sensitive that it took multiple people to do it.
Bigger camera team.
Now it's 2 people on a camera if you're lucky.
Right.
An assistant camera and the DP. And the DIT a lot of times is becoming part of the camera department.
Exactly.
And so they're having to do 12 things at once. So at this point, there's a lot of people looking for those jobs, and we haven't got the point where it's easy to get your foot in the door for
But
those.
many of our students are working as assistant camera, and some of those want to be AD or director or DP. And so they've moved their way into assistant camera. And I can give you, not names right now, but I could go back and dig up quite a few names that are right now working in Hollywood or some of the other film centers, and they're doing assistant camera. So I'm going to make a suggestion. If you want to be assistant camera, get a lens package. Then you come onto the set and you not only get your day rate, but you also rent your lens package out.
I think that suggestion goes across all of the jobs we look at. Let's talk about a basics setup. You start as a PA, you work your way to a production coordinator, then you're an assistant, then you do the job. So on-set PA, on-set production coordinator, assistant camera, camera operator, DP. Same thing with editor. PA, production coordinator, assistant editor, editor. Same thing. If you have gear that you can use as part of your package, that is a way to get the foot in the door. And that is definitely the path I would look at going for. If you want to be a DP, become an assistant camera. If you want to be an editor, become an assistant editor. That's much more likely to get you to where you want to be versus grip, electric, versus set PA, versus crafty, versus any of these other jobs that are good jobs and in some ways a lot easier to get and pay better.
Let's talk about the art department. The art department is a department that some of our students are moving to LA and they're fitting right in. I believe it's because I've gone across and I've looked at all the colleges, and there are a lot of colleges that are teaching directing. There's a lot of colleges that have screenplay tracks, and every other track that we have this big rush of students into that job field. But when it comes to production design, there isn't. There's very few tracks nationwide that have as their focus either production design or art department for film. So our students are finding work. Obviously, they have to start in the art department and they work their way up to production design. But I'll be honest, production design is one of the highest paid positions on set. And the art department, even though it's not one of the highest paid positions, is a really nice pathway up to production designer.
I'll agree with that. My one note is definitely a production designer. We have to remember that in a real film shoot is equivalent to DP, editor, a lot of those other above the line positions, and in some ways has much more creative control than a lot of those. The problem is most film schools do not offer training in those fields. So if you think production design, it's art department, props, wardrobe, makeup. You have to go to the theater department to get a lot of that training. And so you are now not just competing with all of the film school graduates, but all of the theater school graduates. But I would say right now it's kind of a well-known secret or a not well-known secret that those skills can go to the film department. I think a lot of theater graduates want to work in theater. They don't necessarily realize that they have that overlap with the film department.
I think what we're really talking about here is what's hot. We say that if you're going to be an AD or any of the other positions on set, you're going to find work. We think these are the hottest things right now, but as Shawn says, if you have a passion for something, you can always work your way up into it. In a moment, I'd like to, well, in a moment for us, but we'd like to, in our next segment, talk about television and what's happened to television. And we'd like to talk about what's happened to Hollywood over the last 20 years.
I'm hot, Chris is not.